Chapter 1: The Discovery. 12-year-old Josh had always been fascinated by history. With his sandy blonde hair and curious blue eyes, he loved exploring old places and learning about the past. One summer afternoon, while playing in the backyard, he stumbled upon something unusual buried under the old oak tree. As Josh dug deeper, he uncovered a small, rusty metal box. Intrigued, he carefully pried it open to reveal a collection of yellowed papers, photographs, and trinkets from decades ago. At the top of the pile was a handwritten note, dated June 12, 1955. To whoever finds this time capsule belongs to the residents of Maplewood Street. We buried it to preserve our memories and share our stories with future generations. Please take care of it and learn about our lives. Josh's heart raced with excitement. He had discovered a time capsule. He ran inside to show his parents, who were equally thrilled by the find. "This is incredible, Josh," his mother said, examining the contents of the box. "It looks like you've uncovered a piece of our neighborhood's history." His father nodded. "We should definitely learn more about these people. Maybe we can find some of their descendants and share this with them." Josh spent the rest of the day carefully going through the items in the time capsule. There were old photographs of families, handwritten letters, newspaper clippings, and small keepsakes like a locket and a pocket watch. Each item told a story, and Josh felt a deep connection to the people who had lived on Maplewood Street so many years ago. Chapter 2: The Research Begins. Determined to learn more about the residents of Maplewood Street in 1955, Josh decided to start his research at the local library. He knew that old newspapers and town records would be invaluable resources in uncovering the stories of the past. At the library, Josh was greeted by Mrs. Thompson, the friendly librarian who had known him since he was a little boy. "Hello, Josh. What brings you here today?" Josh eagerly explained his discovery of the time capsule and his quest to learn more about the people who had buried it. Mrs. Thompson's eyes lit up with interest. "That sounds like a wonderful project, Josh. Let's start with the archives. We have old newspapers, town records, and even some personal diaries donated by longtime residents." They spent hours combing through the library's archives. Josh found old newspaper articles about community events, school plays, and neighborhood gatherings. He discovered records of town meetings, property deeds, and even a map of Maplewood Street from the 1950s. One of the most valuable finds was a diary belonging to a girl named Emily, who had lived on Maplewood Street during that time. Emily's entries provided a glimpse into the daily life of the neighborhood, describing her friends, family, and the events that shaped their lives. June 1, 1955, today, we decided to bury a time capsule. Everyone contributed something special. I put in a photo of my family and a letter about my dreams for the future. I wonder who will find it and read my words someday. Josh felt a sense of connection to Emily, as if he were peering into her world through the pages of her diary. He copied down the names and details of the families she mentioned, hoping to trace their descendants. Chapter 3: The Neighborhood Quest. With a list of names and addresses from the 1950s, Josh set out to find the current residents of Maplewood Street. He hoped that some of the descendants of the original families still lived in the neighborhood and could share more information about their ancestors. Josh's first stop was the old Johnson house, now occupied by Mrs. Miller, an elderly woman who had lived on Maplewood Street for as long as Josh could remember. He knocked on her door, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Mrs. Miller answered with a warm smile. "Hello, Josh. What brings you here today?" Josh explained his discovery of the time capsule and his research into the neighborhood's history. Mrs. Miller's eyes sparkled with interest. "Oh, I remember hearing stories about the time capsule when I was younger. Come in, let's talk." They sat in Mrs. Miller's cozy living room, sipping lemonade as she shared her memories. "I moved here in the late 60s, but I knew some of the families who were here in the 50s. The Johnsons, the Parkers, and the Browns were all close-knit families. They had picnics, block parties, and holiday celebrations together." Mrs. Miller pointed to an old photo album on her coffee table. "I have some old photos from those days. You're welcome to look through them." Josh carefully flipped through the album, recognizing some of the faces from the photographs in the time capsule. Mrs. Miller identified each person, sharing stories and anecdotes that brought the past to life. "That's Emily Parker," she said, pointing to a photo of a young girl with a bright smile. "She was such a sweet and creative girl. I believe her granddaughter still lives in town. Her name is Sarah. You should try to find her." Encouraged by Mrs. Miller's information, Josh continued his quest, visiting other houses and talking to longtime residents. He learned more about the families, their traditions, and the changes that had taken place in the neighborhood over the years. Chapter 4: Finding Sarah. Josh's search led him to a small, charming house on the outskirts of town. According to Mrs. Miller, this was where Sarah Parker, Emily's granddaughter, lived. With a mixture of excitement and apprehension, Josh knocked on the door. A young woman with curly brown hair and kind eyes opened the door. "Hello, can I help you?" "Hi, my name is Josh," he said, nervously. "Are you Sarah Parker?" The woman nodded. "Yes, that's me. What can I do for you?" Josh took a deep breath and explained his discovery of the time capsule, his research, and how he had learned about Emily Parker. Sarah listened intently, her eyes widening with interest. "I can't believe it," Sarah said, her voice filled with emotion. "I've heard stories about the time capsule from my grandmother, but I never imagined it would be found. Please, come in." They sat at the kitchen table, and Josh showed Sarah the items from the time capsule, including the photo of Emily and the letter she had written. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she read her grandmother's words. "This is incredible," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "Thank you so much for finding this and sharing it with me. My grandmother was a remarkable woman, and it's amazing to see a piece of her past come to life." Josh felt a sense of accomplishment and connection. "I'm so glad I could share this with you. Your grandmother's diary provided so much valuable information about the neighborhood and the families who lived here." Sarah smiled. "I have some old letters and photos that my grandmother left me. Would you like to see them?" Josh eagerly agreed, and they spent the afternoon going through the letters and photographs. Each item added another layer to the rich tapestry of the past, painting a vivid picture of life on Maplewood Street in the 1950s. Chapter 5: The Community Project. Inspired by his discoveries and the connections he had made, Josh came up with an idea to honor the residents of Maplewood Street and preserve their stories for future generations. He decided to organize a community project to create a digital archive of the neighborhood's history. With the help of his parents, Mrs. Thompson, and Sarah, Josh began to gather photographs, letters, and documents from the residents of Maplewood Street. They scanned and digitized the items, creating a comprehensive online archive that anyone could access. The project quickly gained momentum, and more residents joined in, sharing their own stories and memories. The digital archive became a treasure trove of historical information, capturing the essence of the neighborhood's past. To celebrate the success of the project, Josh and his team organized a special event at the community center. They invited residents, both old and new, to come together and share their stories. The event featured a display of the original time capsule items, along with a slideshow of photographs and letters from the digital archive. As people mingled and shared their memories, Josh felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had not only uncovered the history of Maplewood Street, but had also brought the community closer together. During the event, Sarah approached Josh with a smile. "Josh, this project has meant so much to me and so many others. Thank you for bringing our history to life." Josh smiled, feeling proud of what they had accomplished. "It was a team effort, and I'm glad we could do this together." Chapter 6: A New Time Capsule. Inspired by the original time capsule and the connections it had fostered, Josh came up with another idea. He proposed creating a new time capsule, one that would capture the stories and memories of the current residents of Maplewood Street for future generations. The community embraced the idea with enthusiasm. Families contributed photographs, letters, and mementos, just as their predecessors had done in 1955. Josh and his team carefully curated the items, ensuring that each one represented a piece of the neighborhood's history. On a sunny autumn day, the community gathered at the old oak tree in Josh's backyard to bury the new time capsule. There was a sense of excitement and anticipation as they placed the items in a sturdy, weatherproof box. Josh stood before the gathered crowd, feeling a mixture of pride and gratitude. "Today, we're not just burying a time capsule, we're creating a legacy. This is a gift to future generations, a way for them to understand and appreciate the rich history of Maplewood Street." With that, they lowered the time capsule into the ground and covered it with earth. There was a round of applause, and people exchanged smiles and hugs, knowing they had contributed to something meaningful. Chapter 7: A Bright Future. As the years passed, Josh continued to nurture his love for history and storytelling. The digital archive and the new time capsule became cherished parts of the community, serving as reminders of the importance of preserving and sharing stories. Josh's project inspired other neighborhoods to undertake similar initiatives, creating a network of digital archives that celebrated the histories of towns and communities across the region. Josh went on to study history and archaeology, driven by his passion for uncovering the past. He traveled to different parts of the world, participating in excavations and research projects, always eager to learn and share his discoveries. Despite his adventures, Josh never forgot his roots in Maplewood Street. He returned often to visit his family and friends, always welcomed with open arms and warm smiles. One summer, as Josh was visiting his hometown, he was invited to speak at the community center. The room was filled with familiar faces, and Josh felt a sense of pride and gratitude as he took the stage. "Thank you all for being here," Josh began. "Our journey together started with a simple discovery in my backyard, but it grew into something much greater. We uncovered the stories of our past, brought our community closer together, and created a legacy for future generations. I'm honored to have been a part of this journey, and I look forward to the stories yet to be told." The audience applauded, and Josh felt a wave of emotion. He knew that the true value of his work lay not just in the artifacts and records, but in the connections and relationships that had been forged along the way. Epilogue: The Enduring Legacy. The story of the time capsule and the community project became a cherished part of Maplewood Street's history. It was a testament to the power of curiosity, determination, and the desire to preserve the stories of the past. Josh's legacy lived on, not just through the digital archive and the new time capsule, but through the countless lives he had touched and inspired. His journey showed that even the smallest discoveries could lead to profound and lasting change. As the sun set over Maplewood Street, the old oak tree stood as a silent guardian of the past, its roots intertwined with the stories and memories of generations. And somewhere, buried beneath the earth, a time capsule waited patiently for the day it would once again be unearthed, revealing the treasures of the present to the explorers of the future. In the end, the time capsule adventure was not just about uncovering history, it was about creating a legacy of connection, community, and the enduring power of storytelling. And that legacy would continue to shine brightly, inspiring future generations to cherish and celebrate the stories of their own lives.